Wake up. We gonna do this one the right way. Groove. Smooth. Oh. Wake up.
This the feel, this is soul. This the feel, this white gold. This the real, break the mold. This the feel, don't let go. This the feel.
Class in session. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Class in Session podcast. I'm here with President Steve Beatty. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. I'm so excited. We're going to get into different segments today, but the first segment is going to be your introduction, who you are, where did you go to school, and your personal journey of how you became who you are today. So my first question to you is, what school did you attend for college?
I'm a proud Rutgers graduate.
Woo!
Go are you? I went to Rutgers, New Brunswick.
Very nice.
And when I got there, obviously Graduate School of Education to get all my teaching credentials and everything else lined up.
Very nice. Were you active on campus or?
I was. I was in a couple of clubs when I got there, a couple of, sports things, playing some, extracurricular sports and things like that on the club level. But then I got involved. I was a member of a fraternity, as well as some things with the teaching, the Graduate School of Education. We had some cohorts of students that we got together and did some stuff. So I was involved enough.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. I heard that you say you were involved in clubs. What club? And I know you were a part of a fraternity.
Yep.
What clubs were you involved?
Freshman year I was in a class. I was environmental science, so I got involved in the environmental club. I remember was one of the things the professor said, you can either write a 5-page paper or you can go out and lobby for the bottle bill. So back then the bottle bill was like trying to get the deposit, 5 or 10 cents for recycling. So I said, I'm not writing a paper. So I went out and started lobbying for this bottle bill, which to me was like my first real kind of lobbying experience. And that, lo and behold, later on, that would become a large part of the work I do. So that was a big piece, I guess, kind of informative of, that direct one-to-one conversation, talking about people about, in this case, a social issue and recycling in the environment.
Wow, yeah. I would definitely say I can see that now, like in your journey of how, lobbying and then now doing it as a part of your job, that's amazing. And what would you say to people who might want to lobby or maybe is afraid of lobbying or, why should we lobby?
Well, first of all, we have to lobby because, again, educators, we don't get into a job. I didn't become a social studies teacher saying, I'm going to be the best social studies teacher ever, and I'm going to go lobby my assembly people for the, but it is part of it, right? Because we see everything that affects us in our day, whether it's our working conditions, the curriculum mandates, all those things, someone that got elected somewhere is making those decisions. So we have to make sure that, first of all, it should be us in those elected positions, but then making sure that the people making them are hearing from us and heeding what we're saying because we're the experts.
Yes, I love that. Yes, and I actually had the opportunity to lobby through the NJEA and the NJAEA, so I've never had that experience before, so I would definitely say, if you have the opportunity, definitely go. It was such a...
Was it fun?
It was fun. I have to give a shout out to Aaron. He... I had so many questions and he answered them all and I'm like, wow, this is so interesting, this is so cool. And it can be a really good learning experience as well, especially I'm a political science major, so it was hands-on, literally hands-on experience for me, and some people write that in their resume, so it's a great hands-on resume building and also personal experiences and networking with the people that you may have never met before.
Yeah. One of the classes I had, we had a guest speaker in my GovPol class, which was Tip O'Neill. So for those of you of a certain age, Tip O'Neill was the Speaker of the House for many, many years, famous in a lot of ways. And of course, his famous quote was, all politics is local.
Oh, yes.
And that always reminds you to think on that local level. I'm a member of my township Democratic Committee, the most local level you can be, just to affect that, going door knocking in your communities, talking to the people around you, because that's how you make things happen, right? We're the trusted messengers to the people we have relationships with. And that's the point I always try to make to our members when they're quote-unquote lobbying is use your own networks. Who do you know in those spaces they can talk to have those conversations, whether it's local bargaining or statewide initiatives to get those people involved in understanding.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
I had no idea you were a part of your own town council, but that makes sense. I can see that.
I got elected with 2 write-in votes.
Yeah.
Well, I think my wife voted for me. Maybe it was 1 vote. I don't know if she voted for me. 2 votes is all it took to get on the committee.
Yes,
yep.
I love that. I'm actually thinking about in the future, potentially running for Board of Ed.
That'd be great.
So we'll see.
Yeah, we have hundreds of members all around the state on boards of ed, town councils, mayors. We have now Anthony Angelozzi, one of our members, now elected to the assembly, so that's where we belong.
Yes, absolutely, and that's where, in my opinion, real change happens.
Yeah, 100%, because we're the experts.
Yeah. So, do you mind telling me a little bit about your role?
Sure. I'm serving as the president of the NJEA.
Woo!
Right, my mom's super excited. And listen, it's a great position. I mean, I miss the classroom. Let me say that. I taught for 25 years, and I love the work. I miss it. I go to visit schools all the time. I think I've been to over 400 school buildings, talked to 20,000 or more members just in their spaces. I joke when I'm surrounded by cinder block walls and French fry smell, I'm like, oh, I'm home. This is where I belong. But that's really, the role is to be the spokesperson, right? The head of the organization. And there's certain things that I have to do according to my job description, so to speak, running the meetings and obviously chairing things. But to me, it really is being that person out there, leading by example, working obviously with the great team we have at the leadership, the other officers, our leadership team, Kevin, Denise, Petaltina, with everyone in our governance, our staff, to know that it's collective action. So I'm always working in my position to make sure that we are as strong as possible in collective action, because that's what unions are about.
Absolutely.
Right? The mission of a union is to bring people together, to do that work on behalf of our members. So the message is always, I look at my role as, yes, the things I have to do, put the suit on, lead the meetings, go out there, talk to politicians, but also making sure that our members are engaged and understand that they know why we do certain things, so they're active and engaged.
Absolutely, and I am a huge union supporter. I grew up with a union family. My grandma worked in a factory, so she was a part of a union. My dad, he's a blue-collar worker. He's an HVAC technician. He's a part of a union, so I grew up knowing a union, and some people, I think it's so odd when, because I grew up with unions, that some people don't know what a union is, and that's okay, no judgment, you what you're raised is what you know, so I just assumed, I guess, that everyone knew what a union was, but when I found out about the NJEA and the work that the NJEA does, and that there is a part of the aspiring ed, I was like, absolutely, of course I'll be, in the union. And a little bit of background about me. So I used to work in retail. I used to work at Sephora, and they're an excellent company, 1,000%. They treat my store fantastic. But I remember one time that they had us come and they were telling us to sign this paper. Now, I am a political science student, and I like to read the fine print.
Don't sign anything without reading it. I like to read the fine print. I'm not just signing my name away. So I read it, and it was basically saying that we wouldn't allow a union to come into the store. A closed shop, that's what they call it, right?
Yes. And then I refused to sign because I support unions, and I also think it's my right to, support a union if I choose to, and you shouldn't have to tell me yes or no to sign a paper because I'm not going to support a union. I understand that, the company did a great job of what they did, but the fact that they told me that I had to sign a paper that I didn't support unions felt so off-brand for me because, again, I grew up with a union, and seeing my dad be in a union and that it helped our family and the benefits that he got from it, and knowing that he was going to get a raise, I saw that growing up, and I knew the importance of a union. So when they were telling me oh, you have to sign this paper, I said absolutely not. And then a couple weeks later I was laid off.
I was going to say, what happened after that?
Yeah, I was laid off, but you know what, I was laid off because I knew the code of conduct too much. I knew how to protect myself, and I chose my education, and they let me go because I couldn't give more time to the employee, and that's okay. I will always choose my education at the end of the day.
Things happen for a reason.
Exactly, and I get to dedicate more of my time in the aspiring ed, and especially now as the president-elect for the aspiring ed.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's just been such a I just feel I'm moving into my path and where I want to go, and Sephora was definitely the setting stone of communication and how to talk to people and meeting people and different like-minded people. So yeah, I mean,
every piece is a learning experience.
Everything is a learning
experience is the best teacher.
Absolutely.
Whether you do something for a day, a week, a month, a year, those all become part of, you're saying, the collective that brings you to what's next.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you. Let me see what the next thing is. So, can you tell me a little bit about your personal journey and how it basically shaped who you are today?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what you said. I grew up in a union household.
Okay.
My dad and my mom both worked. My dad was a union member for many, many years, and the story that I'll tell that was formative. And even, you can't see it off camera, but I have my grandfather's union cards sitting over there. And he was, an immigrant from Eastern Europe. It's a typical story of that, emigration and coming to the United States and finding a job as a union member, which he saw was, again, a way up into the middle class to provide for his family and also that collective nature. So it was in my heritage from my grandfather to my father, who also went on strike. My dad used to work, among his jobs, he was an editor. He worked for the New York Post for a period of time. And he told me the story that one thing happened one day and they had to file a grievance, and he was involved in a grievance. They went on strike. He walked a picket line.
Wow.
So I, through his eyes, and then growing up, when in my town in Maplewood in Essex County, my teachers went on strike back in the late 70s. I remember heading to school that day, and my parents said, if the educators are on strike, you come home. And so got there, and they're on strike. I said, for me, I was 9 years old. Woohoo, a day off, right? Not realizing, they're on strike.
Yeah.
So, but to me, that it was, again, part of that formative memory that said, of course, unions are important. They are the things that, as I saw in my own household, were so important to my grandfather, my father, how we were able to be in the middle class from the work that provided and that collective opportunity. And so, fast forward to when I got out of college and got my first job, actually, I guess my second job, in Bridgewater, Raritan, where I would stay for the next 24 to my 25 years. My first full year there, we had a job action, and it was contract negotiations, and we chose to take off Veterans Day, which is one of those holidays you can say it's a national holiday, we're not coming in, so you kind of exercise to do that. And of course, everyone said to me, well, you're non-tenured, so you'll go to work, right? You're going to go in. And I said, I can't do that. I'm not going to cross a picket line because my parents will kill me. Plus, I was 24. I'm I'll get a job somewhere else.
Yeah.
But to that day, I was oh, Steve's the union guy. Well, I stood up for what I believed in.
Right.
And
exactly.
and that's the understanding. So after that, I became an AR, right? The first rung on the ladder, so to speak, and just kind of got my feet wet. A year later, I was the chief building rep in my high school, and I remember we had a meeting, first or second day, we had a meeting with the superintendent, and I called him by the wrong name. Oh. I'm I'm getting fired. They're like, no, you're the union rep. You call them by your first name. So it was that first experience, here I am, maybe 24 or 25. I'm calling the superintendent, who's 65, Joe. I'm really? Yes, because you're their equal in that space. To me, that was eye-opening, just the catharsis of that idea of doesn't make a difference if I'm a staff member, he's the superintendent. I am the union rep, they're the management, and we are on equal footing. Don't give them that advantage. So to me, that always struck as, in this journey, to empower everyone to say, when someone says, I'm just, I always stop and say, you're not just anything. You're not just a bus driver. You're not just a teacher. You're not just a custodian. You are those things, and those are important. So to me, that was formative in saying, I'm not just this teacher. I'm the union rep, and we are on equal footing because we're all part of this. And I could tell what administrators were good, in my mind, and not so good, but how they dealt with that, right? If they were coming to it saying, yes, let's talk about this, let's talk as equals, let's collaborate, versus I'm in charge here, you're the subordinate, then all right, well, this is going to be a different type of less productive relationship. So as I went through the ranks, chief rep, I became the grievance chair, which I really liked. I was good at that job. Vice president, eventually local president for 13 years. I started getting involved in the county association as a rep, as a chair of the GR, rep to the GR committee. Eventually I became the president of the Somerset County, go Somerset, Education Association. Got involved more at the state level, going to the RAs. I was appointed the chair of the Government Relations Committee.
Wow.
And then after all that, a couple years later, I ran to be a state officer. And here I am, the president of NJEA.
That's awesome.
Almost every day is great.
I love that for you.
Yeah, thank you.
I hear that advocacy was in your life your whole life.
Yeah.
And I can see that that's because of your father and grandparents.
It is, and my dad passed away a couple years ago, and I still remember, having those stories and talking about it, and my older daughter was doing history projects and sitting and talking to him about his life and getting some of those oral histories down, and it really made me stop and think. And then I found those union cards one day when I was looking through this sort of briefcase of all these documents of immigration documents and boats coming to Ellis Island. I found those and realized, the through line of advocacy, and that's what really struck me. This is the work important enough on its own, but my part in that and my baked in on my bloodline, so to speak, is that just seemed like the right thing to do.
Wow. What would you tell students who want to get involved in advocacy, but they're very timid or scared, or maybe they're unsure about how to go about advocacy, because there's so much that you can do? How would you support or give advice to those students that want to go out and speak their truth to power, but they may not know how?
It's not an easy thing.
No.
Because again, people get involved because they want to be the greatest kindergarten teacher, or the school secretary, or the nurse, or whatever they may be in the school community, and they're not thinking, I'm going to do this, like I said before, and be a union advocate. So I always would say to people, it's important, first of all, explain why it's so important, as we said earlier, about everything that happens to you in terms of your benefits, contracts, everything else, working conditions, curriculum mandates, whatever. Someone decided somewhere. So I say start small. There are things you can do even when you're not tenured. Hey, we have these, let's say, PEP grants. You could be someone that has a great fun job just working with community groups to bring people in. We do that all the time. I was in a school yesterday, Manchester Regional High School. They had a full day of a multicultural fair. The entire school involved in this beautiful panoply, this panorama of all cultures, of food, of dance, of artwork, of students showing off their countries and cultures.
Wow.
And again, comes from these grants that we have. These are things that you can do that are entrees into the union work to get your feet wet, that are, you might say, non-confrontational, right? People probably think, if I'm going to get involved in the union, I have to be confrontational, I'm fighting. Well, in some cases, if it comes to that might be what happens. But this is where it's community-based. I would even argue, as you talk about domain, we say, it's very domain 4, right? Because you say these are things that tie you into the work that is so important to bring the community in. So I would say to any newer educators, people that may be the union, explain why it's so important, and then show here's some easy ways you could really get involved in things that you like. I mean, I've always said 1,000 times, people care about what they care about. So if you can tap into someone saying, I'm not asking you to be the union president, maybe some year later on you might be, but here's something that you might care about, a community project, some interface with parents, a club in the school that the union sponsors, right? I mean, think about NJEA. We have something for everyone in so many spaces that are, again, non-confrontational, so to speak, to use that, maybe not the best phrase, but that are not the grievance kind of oriented, where you can really get involved and see why it's so important. And to me, that's the on-ramp, right? So if you can find someone that says, hey, I really care about this, whether it's their affinity, their affiliation, whatever it may be, that's your on-ramp, and now you get onto the highway of the union work, and then to whatever else. You might be happy being a PEP chair forever, or an AR, or a committee chair, and that's great. Or you find yourself working your way through the ranks, and that's how it starts.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I love that you shared that advocacy is so broad and that it can be anything, and at the end of the day, it comes down to community.
Yeah, and if we can get everybody doing something, that's really something.
Yes,
right? That's
absolutely.
really something.
That is it.
Everybody
That
can do
is it.
something.
Yes, absolutely.
There's space for everyone and something for everyone to do.
Yes, and change looks different for everybody, even
good
if
point.
it's so small. It's just going out there and just showing up for your community. Showing up is step one.
And it's really not different. I tell people all the time that maybe struggle with the concept. It's nothing different than you do in your normal day.
Absolutely.
You're telling students, whatever you do in a school, you're telling students all the time about lifting yourself up, being the best, finding an opportunity. Same thing here. We're talking to our peers about lifting each other up, finding the opportunity, advocating for ourselves and growth.
I love that. So we're going to talk about unions,
All right,
our
let's do it.
segment 2. So my first question is, what is a union and what does the NJEA do?
Well, a union is basically that, the word itself, it's collective actions where you bring people together that have like causes, or in this case, the work that we do, and you form together for collective action, right? The old proverb, as it says, you want to go fast, you go by yourself. You want to go far, you go together. So a union is going together, right? We find ourselves for whatever brings us into it, and then we join collectively to work towards achieving our goals. And of course, we're very proud that we have a brand new vision statement, a strategic plan that clearly articulates what the NJEA stands for, what we work towards, our foundations. So to me, that's the union saying, here's what we aspire to do. What is everyone's role in that as we use our collective power to leverage, right? And to get the things we want, whether it's right across the street and getting laws and bills passed, or the State Board of Education in terms of curriculum mandates and things, or here itself, that every school building functions effectively. We have structures there, leadership, that they're able to do those things. So a union really brings people together under that collective power umbrella.
Yes, absolutely. And when I hear union, I think unity.
Yes.
Like, that's how I always think of a union.
100%.
Like, union, unity. So what does a typical day look like as a union president?
There's no typical day.
Okay.
I'll say that.
Is there any scheduling?
Yes. I mean, we have certain things that happen all. Like
Okay.
every Tuesday we have this.
Okay.
Every Friday there's this.
Okay.
We know that there's busy time. We have all our schedules.
Absolutely.
Summer leave. So there's the rotation of all
Okay.
the events. Like tonight, heading down to Atlantic City for
Wow.
county overnights. Right.
Wow.
Tomorrow we have our Equity Alliance
Yes,
conference. So
yes.
there's always something going on that as officers we're part of. We show up. We try to make sure members are part of that. So a typical day, usually I get up on the early side. My wife is still in the classroom, although she's retiring.
Yay!
5 more fire drills for Tamara. She's very excited.
Aw,
She's counting it down.
Congratulations.
Yep. So I usually get up early, exercise, take the dog out, get myself, mentally right. And I can't sleep late because my whole life I've
You have to
gotten
wake up early.
My first
On the
class,
go.
my first class started at 7:20.
Yeah.
So when I see
wow.
the clock says 7:20, I always think first period just started. So
That's a good mindset. Yeah.
I'm always out of bed early enough, even though I think I'll sleep late today. So I'm up early, getting things done. Again, doing the things that are helpful to me to make sure I'm in the right frame of mind, feel good about that, and then on to emails and phone calls.
Yep,
But any day can take you
absolutely.
anywhere. Besides, I said, the meetings we have, leadership meetings, policy meetings, committee meetings. Any particular day could have me in a school somewhere, which I try to do, as I mentioned, often, to be out there with the members and talking to people that really don't have any sense of engagement
Absolutely.
with the association, and making sure they realize there are people out there that you're connected to, so we can grow that collective power as they see why we're doing those things, having those one-to-one
Absolutely.
conversations. Any days I could be meeting with legislators, the governor, very exciting.
Shout out to Mikey Sherrill,
Yes.
Governor Mikey Sherrill.
Mikey Sherrill, our lead group, which is the various policy makers of I call it the 5 families of New Jersey education, even though it's 6, like superintendents, principals,
Yes.
us. So really any day could be a mix of those things working towards our collective goals, right? Obviously talking about pension reform, healthcare, right? Curriculum design, ESP, job justice, all those things that bring us together. So any particular day could have any number of those things, finding you in all kinds of fun spaces. So never a dull moment. I'll say that.
though.
Always an
I love
interesting
that.
day.
I love that. Like, it's always on the go. And
Always
it's
on the
always
go.
new. It's always new. I love that. It's always fresh, Do you mind if I ask you, what time do you wake up, and then what time are you going to bed?
Good question. So usually I'm up on a weekday because my wife gets up around 5:30. So I'm up at 5:30.
Okay, yeah.
I'll get out of bed
Typical,
probably
right?
around 6-ish. When she's getting ready to leave. So I'll exercise. I'll take the dog for a little hike. We have some nice woods, and I'm just saying, I have the greatest dog in the world, Quincy. So
Quincy.
yes, he's the most popular member of our house, as everyone says, and he's earned that. And then as I'm having breakfast, checking the emails. If there's phone calls early, sometimes we have check-in calls during times of the week at 8 o'clock, or again during the week, certain people will set up for check-in calls and policy calls. We have every Tuesday here, so I'm up early enough to start that, and then where the day takes you, right?
Right,
Whether I'm coming into
absolutely.
Trenton, whether I'm going to a school in north, south, central, east, west, I definitely do put a lot of miles on the car, which is fine because we have a really nice state. Almost all the state is really, really beautiful. A lot of great little towns, and I love to do when I visit a school district. I'll try to get there a few minutes early and just kind of drive around the community a little bit, see what's it like, what's the experience of how people live. Is there a downtown, or so just get the flavor before I go to the school and see what people's lived experiences are as I do that. So whatever the day is, it could be here, there, driving back. Some days I'll go from north to south and back again.
Wow.
Some days I'm at
That's
home,
long.
phone calls and Zoom meetings, as now Zoom has become one of our baked in kind of things. And then usually, if I'm lucky, I'll be in bed at 10 o'clock.
Wow.
I try.
Wow.
I try to
give
be
you
in
credit.
bed. Oh no, I
Wow.
I
give
work
you
hard
credit.
for that
Yes.
because I've realized as I
Shout
get
out
older,
to you, President Beatty.
thank you. As I get older, sleep is really important.
Yes, it is.
And I notice if I can get to bed in that 10 o'clock time, and even if I'm up at 6, it's a whole big difference. If
Wow.
I'm days where I'm up till midnight or driving home
Yeah,
or 1 o'clock,
absolutely.
and I'm getting up early, it's a much different waking experience.
Absolutely.
Rest is resistance, as I have been told.
Absolutely. How do you unplug and stay mentally focused? Because you're always on the go, which can be very exciting,
Yeah.
but it can also be very draining. how do you stay mentally fit? Because we have to take care of our body. We have to be physically fit. How do you stay mentally fit?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's something we really have to pay attention to, especially as educators, where we're so, as one of the metaphors goes, we're so always busy filling someone else's cup. We make sure that ours needs to be replenished as well. And that's something we constantly have to, because an educator, right, I went above and beyond every day. I would do anything for the students in my class. I would go, whatever I needed to do. But you have to take that. So first of all, rest. As I said, that morning routine for me is really as much about my physical as it is my mental, right? Getting up, doing some exercise, taking the dog for a hike where I can just take some deep breaths and say to myself, welcome to a new day, the opportunity to do great, a little bit of that. There's that. I play guitar, which you can see off camera here. So I call that just sit there, and that is some good therapeutic stuff. And of course my dog, but my family, really. I mean, again, my wife, my children are really just fantastic. I don't just say that, but they really, really are strength. They make it all worthwhile. We can, and I think I'm pretty good at sort of differentiating, blocking things out. Like I realize this is the work part of it, and then I can kind of switch into, I'm going to leave that behind for a little while and stay in the moment with my family and my friends, whatever it is. Of course, things always in the back of your mind, depending on what's going on that day. But I really try to mentally put myself in a different frame of mind to not let those things, linger. Of course, you replay things in your head after whatever's going on.
It's hard, right?
Sure.
It's hard.
Listen, I work for 200,000 wonderful people.
It's hard.
And I wake up every day thinking, how do I do best by them?
Right.
And I can go to bed at night with not having any problem falling asleep, knowing I did everything I could for whatever that day was to make sure I was doing everything I could for all of our members.
And that's real. I give you credit, President Beatty. Like, I'm going to give you your roses.
You can call me Steve. It's okay.
Awesome. Thank you, Steve. I think that's incredible because, being a leader, it can be overwhelming. It can be really overwhelming.
Some days. Yeah, for sure.
And, turning off my brain before bed, can be a challenge, right?
Sure.
Because you're thinking about everything and everything. And, one of the things that I learned at the Winter Leadership Conference was brain dumping.
Yes.
And how I've been brain dumping, I need to do this, I need to do that. And that doesn't actually mean I need to do it tomorrow, but it's just to make sure that I feel a little bit more rested before I go to bed because I do have anxiety. And that's one of the things that, is really relevant in my life. And so because I have anxiety, I think about oh my gosh, am I doing the best that I can? Right. And I love that you mentioned gratitude and, I have this opportunity doing it again. I have the opportunity of, helping this many people and I should definitely do that more often. I do give gratitude, but I think that, I should wake up and definitely give gratitude to a new day because it's a new opportunity to do something new. For sure.
I know my job is difficult in that regard, but I know that it's good work for good people, and that makes it worthwhile. But you said you have to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, or you're not going to be able to do it well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And now you taught me something that I'm going to wake up and give gratitude.
And everyone needs a dog or some kind of pet because that's just sitting there and petting the dog. It's scientifically proven. It makes you live longer and healthier.
So
for sure.
What is your dog? What kind of breed?
He is half golden retriever. So we saw it when we got him during COVID. We saw his mother, beautiful golden retriever, and then they said that father was a lab mix.
Oh,
so
cute.
he kind of looks like a smaller golden. But we also heard different ways he looks. He looks like a lab. Some days he looks like this breed is called a Nova Scotia duck toller.
Okay.
So sometimes I call him Toller because he kind of looks about. He's just all great dog.
Oh,
I'll say that.
That's
He's
so
the greatest.
sweet.
My boy Quincy.
Does he like to I feel like labs and golden retrievers are more like lap dogs.
He could be. He's very cuddly. He's a very good dog.
So jelly.
When you come home home, he makes you feel like you're the only person. He jumps up on you and kisses and hugs. So he travels well. We bring him to the summer leadership. He'll stay with us. We'll bring him to conferences.
Wow.
He does travel pretty well. It's good to have him with us.
Yeah. He probably makes the day so much better.
He certainly does.
Oh, I love that.
Everyone needs a dog. Unconditional
love.
love.
I have a dog. She's...
What kind of dog's that?
German Shepherd, so she's not a cuddly dog. She's like, I need my space. But I love that for her. She protects us.
Listen,
she's definitely a guard dog.
And she loves you.
Yeah, she's funny. she's very smart. She knows when she wants water. She'll throw her bowl, her water bowl in particular. And I'm like, oh, someone needs water. I'm like, you always want water, girl, but we love our water.
You can communicate.
Yeah,
Good.
she knows how to communicate.
Yeah.
She knows how to like ring the bell when she needs to go outside.
We thought about training him. Didn't go that far. He's well trained, but we thought about like the bells by the door.
It helps.
He just stands by the door, so we figured it out. But,
of course.
That would
and
have been
that's
a cool
form
trick.
of like letting them
Right.
know.
To have him ring the bell, that would have been impressive to show people like, watch this.
Yes, and she knows English and Spanish.
Oh.
So we taught her like sit, siéntate, give me your paw, patita. So she's a bilingual dog.
Bilingual dog.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes. So we're gonna move on to our third segment.
All right.
Which is I didn't know that, so I have a mini pop quiz for
Uh-oh.
you.
I didn't study. Is it multiple choice?
It is.
You got a Scantron or?
So, I didn't know that.
All right.
All right. Are bananas considered a berry? True or false?
Are bananas considered a berry? True or false? I'll say true.
That is true. Bananas are technically a berry, but strawberries are not.
Strawberries are not because the seeds are on the outside.
Yeah.
Right? Is that the thing?
That's
Something
the
like
thing.
that? All right.
Yes. Okay. So sharks existed before trees.
Okay.
How long have they been around for?
Oh, they're prehistoric, right?
So
They've been around for a long
I
time.
have 2 million, 6 million, oh my god, 40 million, 200 million, 600 million, 400 million, or 500 million.
Oh my lord. I'll go with 40 million.
Yes. Wow. I'm impressed. Yes, trees have been around for 40 million years, and trees have been around for 35 million years.
Yeah, that's
so.
amazing. Yeah, I know they all kind of found all kind of prehistoric shark teeth and skeletons and stuff going way back.
So our last question before we get into fun facts is sloths can hold their breath longer than dolphins. So how long?
That's a fact. You're saying that's...
Yes, that's
okay.
a fact. So sloths can hold their breath longer than a dolphin. How long can they hold their breath for?
Wow.
60 minutes, 40 minutes, 20 minutes, or 10 minutes?
I'll say 10 minutes.
The correct answer is B, 40 minutes.
went 2 for 3.
Dolphins can actually hold their breath for 10 to 15, while sloths can hold their breath for 40 minutes.
Why would a sloth need to do that? That's my question.
I don't know.
What are they holding their breath for?
I think they want to like swim or something. I don't know.
They are slow to begin, right? That makes sense.
I have no idea.
It goes along with their general malaise.
Yes.
Yeah.
They
That's
actually
funny.
purposely hang slow so that algae can grow on them so they can eat.
Wow.
I looked that up while I was doing that. I'm
That
like,
makes
that is
sense.
so interesting.
Right? Sloths.
Okay, so I have some Snapple fun facts.
All right, good. From the bottle caps?
Yes.
Yep.
So, on brand, strawberries are actually members of the rose family.
Okay.
Then we have lemons contain more sugar than a strawberry,
Lemons have more sugar than a strawberry.
which is weird because they're
That's
like
weird,
yeah.
right? The
And
sour,
then-
you think that's not...
Yeah, I thought that too. And then chimpanzees have their own fashion trends.
What do they wear?
So they put like grass in their ear. I had to search it because I was like, what fashion trends are they doing?
I haven't seen like
they're
wearing like
putting-
culottes or like Sansabelle slacks or something. Like
Right? Right? I was like, no way. So I looked that up, and it said there was an article about chimpanzees putting grass in their ear as like a style to like show each other like I have style. I was like, you know what? I love
all
that for
the
them.
primates in general, they're just fascinating. You think
Oh,
how
yeah.
close they are, to humans and all the things they do, and you really see it. You see that in their faces, they're humanistic.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. They're honestly, I love animals. So.
Are you a zoo fan? You like going to the zoo?
I do. I
love
will
the
say
zoo.
though, I like the Turtleback Zoo because they're like they're a sanctuary, so they rescue the animals and then they let
I
them
love the
free.
turtle. That's the zoo where I grew up in Maplewood.
Yes,
Not far was my
yes.
zoo growing up. Now,
Yes.
in the 70s, it was not the zoo it is today. It was very sad. They had
Aw.
like a penguin with one flipper that swam in a circle. I
Aw.
think it was like they had deer and they just put like a big cone on its head and called it a giraffe. I mean, joking, but
Oh my
they've
God.
really
But
done
I get
a
what you
great
mean.
job of
Yeah.
making that zoo. And the train,
Yes.
that's my childhood memory, and I'm glad that I
Yes.
brought my own children on that, and they still like
Yes.
going because that
Yes.
zoo to me is, that's my home zoo.
Yes, I grew up at that zoo too. So I'm originally from Essex County too. I went to school number 10 in Belleville, but then moved up to Morris County later. And yeah, I have a lot of memories especially during the holidays, they have like the nightlight
Right,
show.
yeah.
So that's nice. And I just don't get me wrong, like I love aquariums, I love zoos, but I always feel bad, but that's why I love like a good sanctuary. But again, it's still cool. It's
Yes,
still cool to
my children,
see.
when they're old enough, asked, like, are zoos, they must have read something, are they good for the animals? Like,
Yeah.
I said, well, that's the argument,
Yeah.
right? Is it better that people get to see them, and then it spurs thoughts of
Mm-hmm.
conservation and animal welfare and protection, versus would these animals be better off in the wild? And sometimes,
Yeah.
of course, as you said, they're rehabilitating them, or it's a
Mm-hmm.
sanctuary where they can't live in the wild, so they're in a zoo because they wouldn't survive.
Mm-hmm.
But I understand that, the purpose of zoos and being able for people to come in and really learn about them I think is helpful. Yeah.
Absolutely. I love to learn. So when I get to learn about like the different fun facts about the animals, or see like they have like the skulls of like the animal,
Yes.
it's like really cool.
I always love the sea lions. They're always so fun and cute.
Yes.
The otters.
Yes.
I could watch them forever.
Yes, I just.
And the prairie dog thing they have there.
It's
My
so
kids used to
cool.
love that. I have pictures
It's
of them
so
with their
cool.
heads popping up and the little domes and the prairie
Yes.
dogs running around.
It's so
That's
cute.
great.
I'm actually going to the Turtleback Zoo on the
Oh.
26th. So that's
Lucky
so
you.
funny. Yeah, it's actually a Rutgers event. My mom's a
Oh.
Rutgers alumni, so it's an alumni event. So they're doing something.
That's great.
Yes.
Yeah.
So my last and final segment is motivation and community impact.
Mhm.
So what motivates you each day to continue the work that you do?
I mean, the short answer is, my own children in that regard, because I realize that the things we do as educators
Mm-hmm.
really is the most important work.
Mhm.
And the world that we're going to leave to them as they go forward. And my older daughter's right now just training to be a teacher.
Mhm.
She'll be graduating from Montclair in a couple of weeks, and then looking for a job like everybody else. So I mean, that's the world we live in is it's a little messed up right now in a lot of
It
ways.
can be very
and
scary at
it could be a lot.
times.
So I want to make sure that we're
Yeah.
doing everything we can, so the world that we are handing over to them is in a place where they can move it forward. They can
I
do
love
better.
that. Yes.
But I also realize,
Yes.
having been a classroom teacher for 25 years and work with thousands and thousands of fantastic people, and now in this position, to understand that what motivates me is them. When I go into a local and talk to the local president, who's dealing on a different level with the things we can relate to, but then I talk to any number of dozen of kind of rank and file educators who really have no idea who I am, and that's great, because I'm just talking to them as their equal. I'm a teacher. I'm a this. I don't say just, right? I'm a teacher, you're this. Let's talk about why we're here, right? And then we try to make it into something like, you're here doing this work, and that's the opportunity to make sure that we grow the profession, protect our rights as a union. So that's really what motivates me, that we can do so many good things for great people for the collective good. Because I would, as educators go, right, as we do and well and being taken care of, that obviously has the effect for our students. And if we want to have the next and successive generations going forward, we have to make sure that we have the ability to develop critical thinkers, right? That we're not bound by strictures that are just so rigid that we can't help kids literally think outside of the
Absolutely.
box. So the great opportunity is whatever space I'm in, talking to politicians, talking to state board members, talking on the local level to people, that we're all in this together for the greater good of a society that understands, that is empathetic, that cares for each other, right? It's not always about the rigor. Like I said, this multicultural event yesterday was great. It wasn't about anything of rigor. It was that every student could come there and present who they were
And celebrate.
and learn from each
Yeah.
other, right? At one table, you had a student from Colombia talking to a person from Ecuador and understanding what they're about. A student that had an Israeli background talking to someone from Lebanon about their background, just having these conversations and sharing of themselves. So that's really what it is, the opportunity for us to continually work towards better.
Yes, I love that. And I love that it still brings in the community.
Yes.
And that's important, to celebrate one another.
Yeah, we have to do more of
Yeah.
that. Because
Yes.
around the world,
My next question is, what's your favorite initiative that you're currently working on?
favorite initiative that we're currently working on. Well, we've done a lot of great things. I mean, in my history, we've done a lot, obviously, when we got Chapter 44 and ESP Job Justice, and we got rid of the EdTPA, and the Praxis, and all these things that I was fortunate enough to be part of. Right now, of course, we're working towards strengthening every benefit. Healthcare has become a huge, huge,
Absolutely.
huge problem. Really is pushing down on everything else. Again, last week I had lunch with 4 presidents in Ocean County from Lakewood, Jackson Brick, and Toms River,
Wow.
who are getting crushed
Wow.
because of the funding, and it's their loss of ESPs, buildings being sold or closed, staff losses, and so we are focused right now on how do we not just band-aid, how do we fix this problem? How do we come forward? And we have ideas on healthcare reform that can really, really make a significant and long-lasting change to alleviate some of that pressure that is impacting everything else that is vexing us and our presidents, our locals, in terms of those job losses and the impact on the kids.
Absolutely.
Because no matter who you talk to, we all believe in one thing, the same thing. That every single student deserves a great, high-quality public education taught by a great public educator.
Yes.
So you can't have great students learning stuff unless you have great educators. And that starts in the junior highs and the high schools, where we have programs to mentor up-and-coming educators, the aspiring ed in the colleges, to make sure that we're nurturing all of our successive generations of educators so we can reach back and pull people along to being part of what that is. So we have a tremendous opportunity there. And so whether it's healthcare, pensions and benefits, because as you know, we have a big problem right now with recruitment and retention.
Absolutely.
Because of the way, again, point to whether, again, pensions and benefits, SGOs, whatever things that, make the profession more difficult.
Absolutely.
And not being, rewarded or taken care of in the things that we so deserve in terms of salaries and benefits, because we have bills to pay too. We're people too. We're taxpayers.
Absolutely.
That we're focused right now on among everything else, professional development and all those other pieces, and advocacy and the justice work and all those things that come part of it, that we don't have members, then we have no union.
Right.
So we make sure that every member feels that they're being seen, that we're talking about their health care, their pensions, their benefits, that districts are supported. And so those are the big things that we're working on collectively.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
No big deal, right?
I will say, I almost got teary-eyed when you said, free public education, should be, a set standard for everybody, and it should be the same for everybody. And that's why I fell in love with education. I may not be in a classroom. I want to fight for, the teachers that feel like they can't fight, and they want to be heard. And I fell in love with, the fact that my teachers did so much. They went above and beyond. And a lot of my teachers did that, so I want to give back to them. And I have a calling for, fighting and advocacy. And I think it's so sad, in my opinion, that, a zip code really does,
zip codes matter.
And it literally breaks my heart, knowing that there are so many children going to school and, not receiving the same education as someone else in a different zip code.
And the impact that great educators have. I mean, as I sometimes, scroll through some of the videos, and I'm always struck by, a person of some fame or background going back to visit one of their teachers. That's so important and incredibly informative, and seeing how that reaction they have when they see them and the love they genuinely have. And no offense to accountants anywhere in the world, you don't see someone back and hugging their accountant for thank you for getting my tax return, right? Right? But it's educators that people understand, and you can ask anyone, tell us about one of your favorite educators, and there's immediately, Ms. Zane, Mr. this, Miss. They always can have a story about that particular educator or educators. Sometimes it's a custodian, a school secretary, the bus driver, their teacher, whoever it may be in that building that cares for them and that has that impact forever on that person's life. And that's the opportunity we all have as educators, and then as a union, to make sure that we are plowing the road for them, that they have the cleanest paved road to do their magic, and they should be taken care of as well.
Absolutely. I had no idea my uncle was in the NJEA. So my uncle is a custodian, and I had no idea that he was in the union until I started being involved in the union. And same thing with my best friend. Her mom was actually a speaker at the Atlantic City Conference.
Oh, is that right?
Back in November. So I was it was always around me. The NJEA has always been around me. I guess until I got really involved, I was it was always meant to be. I was always meant to find and be here. But it was so funny because my aunt got the Review magazine. Everybody should be looking at the Review magazine. It's a good magazine. And she was flipping and she saw the aspiring ed and she's like, "Oh my gosh, that's you!" And I was like, "Wait, what?"
Should I sign it for you?
I had no idea. I had no idea that any of that. So I always look through the Review magazine, and you can find some really good stuff.
Great stuff, great resource.
And I was I just found out recently that you can use as a college student, you can use some of the articles in a paper. So that's good. It's good to have out other sources too.
The things in there are very well, all kinds of articles on all types of things. It's, for sure.
It's fantastic. So my last question is, what's your final message, and what's something that you would take away or share to the audience?
Well, the short answer is solidarity forever.
Yes.
And that kind of encompasses everything. That when I was a local president,
Yeah.
my line again, we had 1,200 members in 11 different buildings doing 65 different jobs. So we are diverse in everything we do around the state. We have close to 200,000 members in whatever the number is, 600 and blah 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 local school districts from a very diverse set of background. As I travel the state, Bergen is very different from Burlington, Cumberland is different from Cape May, Sussex from Salem, all the various things. So we have to realize that the message is that we are diverse, and that's the great beauty we have, and we have to come together collectively. Because we may not agree on this from here, or I believe in this, or my members feel more this way, they feel this way, that way. Great. We all believe in the same thing. Great working conditions, opportunities for kids, and so the message is we do that together, collectively, so solidarity forever.
Yay! I love that. Thank you so much, Steve, for being on this podcast. And thank you, everyone, for watching the Class in Session podcast. We'll see you in our next one. Take care.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
White gold.